To the nose. So we've got the nose now. We've got kind of a down facing nose and we've got an up facing nose, and this is mostly value. So I'm going to get into a little bit of value, but I'm not going to change my pencils. You'll want to change your pencils. You'll want to sketch with a 2H or an HB, and then you'll want to jump up to maybe a 2B for value here, and then maybe a 4B, if not a 6B when we get darker. Okay, and it's all going to depend on your lighting, right? I did a portrait of my wife once with chalk pastel, and the picture that I used as the reference was kind of blown out. Like there was no real good lighting, so her nose was basically gone except for her nostrils. So if you don't see it, you don't draw it, right? That's a big thing I preach to my students. If you don't see it, don't draw it. Don't make something up if it's not there, okay? If it doesn't belong there, don't put it there. All right, so let's start. We're going to do this nose here and then this nose here, and then maybe I'll do this in full and then I'll just start you off on this one, and then I'll let you have at it, because once you've done this one will be fairly easy. You just have to pay attention to where the nostrils are. This one you're lucky because you don't have to worry about nostrils. You just have to worry about the kind of the underlying what's happening there with the nose. All right, so I'm going to start with the circle first. So I'm going to go about right here. Don't be afraid. See, I always start off my circles with quarter, 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 and get a nice circle that way. Keep it light. And then if you notice these two circles are almost right in the middle of this one, and that's important for how the nose ends up looking. And it's important for the nostrils, which is why I think I'll go into the second one with you. Just so you can understand what I'm talking about in its entirety. So I've got that going on, and then I've got to get the bridge of the nose. That's in too far. I'm curving in way too far. I want to come up but not curve in that much. Okay, and this is really just, the bridge is just kind of a guide for where the shadow is going to go, and understanding how tall the nose may be or how long it may be. Okay, next step is we can solidify this outline, and then we can get rid of, or start to get rid of, the lines that we drew for the circles. Okay, so this is basically just an outline of the circles that are connected. So watch. So I'm going to make this a little darker. I'm going to follow this around, and then follow that around, and there it is. I've got the outline of the nose. Okay, and again, there are no lines on the face or anywhere. The only place we're going to find lines are cartoons and tattoos. Okay, so there's no lines. Eventually the lines go away. The only time that you think you see a line is just the separation of value. Okay, so there's going to be more value underneath the nose, which is why it looks like there may be a line. There's no lines. We start with lines, but they need to go away. Okay, so I've got that, and then we need to start shading. So if you notice, all these lines are just kind of, this is really rough. It's not real smooth yet. So we start off with something rough, and then we go a little darker, and maybe we blend it out with a stub, or we just learn how to control our pencils and we just blend with the pencil, because you don't always need a stub to make something look smooth. It's just patience. And if you lack patience, then maybe that's something you need to work on. So I'm just going to add a little bit of value, and this is going to kind of give the shape of the nose. And I'm going to, you notice that it's a little darker right here where the nose meets, or the two little lines meet. And I'm going to go ahead and erase the inside circles of those two small circles. This inside line is important because that's where the value kind of comes around. So I'm just going to give you guys an outline roughly where this goes. See how it just kind of follows that line, kind of curves around. And you can see the value is all on this side, and there's just a little bit on that side. So the light source is coming from this direction. So we have more value on the right hand side, which is the left of the face. Little strokes. You don't have to hurry. Don't make really long strokes. Just do short strokes. There's no rush. No hurry. If you notice, this is getting smaller and it disappears. Okay. And we got a little bit of this value on this side, and we keep it kind of in the round. This is really rough. I'm not smoothing this out or anything right now. I'm just getting a rough outline, so we're getting to the nitty-gritty here. Keep looking at your reference. Don't abandon the reference. Make sure that nose is still looking fairly straight, right? Looks like there's a little cut in about there. Maybe it's got a little hook on the nose. That's okay. Everybody's nose is different. I'm going to get rid of this line in the middle because that line needs to go away. You notice it's starting to get closer and closer to what an actual nose looks like. Okay. And then if we go to the next one, this is when we get darker. This is when you would grab a 4 or 6B and start getting a little darker. And fill in a little more. There's a lot of white here, and then that white gets a little less. So you would end up bringing that value in a little bit more, and you just keep it dark where it needs to be dark, but that value needs to kind of cover the whole area. Highlights really start to lessen and lessen more and more. Actually, I think I'm going to grab a 6B and see what I can do with the 6B real quick to get some of this stronger value. Alright, so I'm going to go with a little bit of 6B, and you're going to notice it's going to get dark really quick. And I'm not adding a lot of pressure. You don't have to add pressure. The sooner you add pressure, and then you might have to erase, oh my gosh. It's just you're not gonna like it, and that's when a lot of people get stressed out, when they make a mistake, and then it's too late, and they can't fix it, and then they believe they can't do it because they made the mistake. And it doesn't mean you can't do it. You just didn't do it right the first time. It means you got to try again. It's not a big deal. So we've got to keep looking at the reference. This is going to give a little bit of shape to the nose. I'm going to kind of put a little bit of a line in down here, but I'm going to blend it out too. Make it a little darker because we want that separation. Remember, there is no lines. There are no lines. I'm not an English major, but there are no lines. Just separation of value. My pencil's a little dull right now, but that's okay. This is just for your benefit. And then it gets lighter and lighter as it gets to the other side, so we don't want to go too dark. Keep it light. Keep looking at your reference to make sure that you're not going too dark. And if you notice, I haven't blended yet. I haven't actually used a blending stub because you don't need to. It's not necessary if you spend enough time in short strokes and whatnot. I'd rather you take more time and do well, then you rush and it doesn't turn out well. It's okay if it looks a little sketchy, you're just trying to get the idea. Kind of fading out a little bit right here. See that value kind of in the middle? Add a little bit of that value really lightly. I'm not pushing real hard, I just want to really lightly add a little bit of value. I don't know what you guys see right now, but a little off on my value. And we're not drawing the whole face, we're just trying to get the nose in. Remember, there's no nostrils, so we're not drawing nostrils. We don't see any nostrils, so we don't draw them. Darken up that under the nose there. Okay. I'm okay with that. It's a little off. I'm not going to nitpick it right now. Got to be open to critique though. Alright, so the next one, the underneath one, this one that's looking up, I'm just going to do this and this so you guys can see. I'm not going to shade the whole thing, but I'm going to show you how we get that nostril look. Okay, so remember this one up top, we drew the circle, right? And then we drew the nostril circles, the two on the side, like right in the middle. Well, now they're not going to be right in the middle. We're going to draw them just a little lower. So that way, when we follow our lines, we're going to actually end up with nostrils. Okay, like the opening of the nose. Okay, so we've got that, and then put the bridge on roughly right there. So the next one is, let's get this line down, and please pay attention to how this looks. This starts up here and circles around and ends about right there. Okay, this does the same and ends about right there. Okay, so it came off the circle that we originally drew, and that's okay, that's what we want. The middle of this is going to actually be drawn in the middle, Okay, maybe not as dark as what I just did, but that's okay. We're going to follow this up, and then this is going to cut and turn, but not touch that first line we drew. So cut and turn and leave it like that. That's going to give us that up-facing nose, okay? And it all depends on how far up the nose is, or how far, you know, how short somebody is compared to the person that they're looking at the nose. So it just depends a lot on that. I'm just going to lessen that up a little bit because I don't need all that darkness. Okay, and then we start filling in the value from there. We could erase the upper line. This line right here can go away. This line in here or here can go away, or both. It just depends, but you've got to have them there just so you know roughly where that value is going to go. And then if you notice, this is not just filled in black. All we're doing, and it depends on the shape, I drew the shape a little off, that's okay. As I fix the shape, and then a little bit of darkness comes out, and then it fades out. It's not just a little black hole. It's going to start dark underneath, and then it's going to get lighter as it gets further away, because light is hitting it at some point, and it's not just a big black hole. Okay, so relax about just making big opening, just circles of nostrils. Okay, so these aren't just circles filled in. That's elementary, and we're past that. Okay, so that's the general shape for that, and then we'll move on to the next.